What's up, everybody? Welcome to Blade Talk, which, in light of Halloween and it's October, we are going to Ghost Talk, okay? Where I have a panel of expert paranormal experts in the room, but nah, a couple of guys are coming in. So I didn't announce. I don't think anybody knows who's coming in yet. But so, yes, this is Ghost Talk for October, guys. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of knife talk as well. But before we get started, as I try to mention, okay, don't forget our vets, guys. Hashtag 22 a day. Vets, there's a place for you here. Don't fight that fight alone. So without further ado, I would like to, actually, before I bring Scab into the room, I know that Scab had made an announcement as far as me leaving YouTube for a short while. And I didn't want to, my intention was not to make a big hoopla about it or anything like that. Because I thought I was going to be out for a very long period of time. Without getting into too many details, I was kind of busy just trying to finalize my divorce. And I needed to kind of put a lot of attention to it. It was like our final court trials, and I thought it would last a lot longer. So I'm still here, not very happy. But you know what? YouTube is something that always gets my mind at ease, keeps me occupied, and it makes me happy. And I missed all you guys. And it's a whole community thing that pretty much always brings me to YouTube, and that's pretty much what I need right now. So I'm here, I'm back. I didn't want to make a big hoopla. I was out for a long period of time, and I'm happy. I'm happy that I'm back a lot sooner than I thought it would be. I thought I would be out for at least all of October and it's November, but gladly I'm back, and here I am. So let's put that all aside. Moving forward and onward. So let's bring Scab into the room, and here he comes. Mr.
What's
Scab,
going on, man?
welcome.
Well, thank you. It's my show. Appreciate you welcoming me. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay now that I'm next to you there, buddy.
Good deal. Well, you going to bring in our guest? I'm really excited about this one.
Well, why don't you announce them one by one, and I will bring them into the room. It's your call. You announce whoever you want to announce first.
I'll tell you what. First of all, everybody it's watching, how are you? Happy October. For all the fun haters, happy Fall Festival. Glad to be here. Joe, I heard Joe mention 22 a day, and I just want to rehash that. Vets, we love you. You're welcome here. We're going to bring in the first guy that you know. This one's going to be a different one. This one, we can talk some knives, we will. But we want to talk about some paranormal stuff, some fun stuff, and that's what this is for. And I don't know of a more fun guy on the internet than Captain Electro. So, Cap, come on in.
All right. As soon as I can get in there. All right, there we go. Cap, you're in, buddy. Cap's busy cutting shit
What's
up.
going on, fellas?
What's up, Cap?
How are you?
All right?
So far,
Ghost Talk, buddy.
So far, glad. Thank you for joining us, Cap. I appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Good deal.
What we're going to talk about today, man?
Well, before we talk about anything, let's bring in our professional ghost hunter that has been doing it for years. Some say he's a ghost. We don't know. The incomparable Donnie B. All Day. Come on in, Donnie.
Ooh. So I was just sitting back here with my Hellraiser box, raising some hell.
Awesome.
Very cool.
Hey, I didn't see you guys there.
Well, thank you. All right, Joe, everybody's in the room. I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Stephen Klaus, Matt Peterson, John
let's
Peters.
Talk some paranormal shit.
All right, so this is Ghost Talk. So listen, it's a fun show. We're just kind of just messing around here, but we got some real story. I have some background and some things that happened to me and that I can share, and I'm sure you guys can. We got the haunted ass church that Scab is definitely going to bring up. I know that Cap, you got some stories to tell as well. But before we get into that, in the spirit of Halloween, anybody see Halloween Kills?
Yes.
It's Michael Myers rendition.
Dope. It was really good. Really good. It's funny because the way they built that movie was they completely removed Halloween Part 2 out of the equation.
Yes.
It went from Halloween, the first original one, and it just bled right into the new one, which was, I mean, they've done it already before where they've just X'd out a bunch of movies and then, so it's nothing new in the franchise, but it was pretty good, man. It was pretty good.
Yeah, so this is technically Halloween 2.
Yeah,
Like you putting aside 3,
exactly.
4, and 5 back in the 80s and all
Exactly.
that
How
stuff.
I'm not going to give anything away, but how the movie starts is really, really cool. How they started in a timeline, backtracked from that
Yeah,
timeline, and then fast forwarded to a new timeline. And the way they did it was pretty good. You got to pay attention because it's almost genius how they did it.
it is. I really he killed a lot of people.
Yeah, which is
There
my
was a
kind
lot of
of
brutal killings, man. Yeah, it was definitely a lot of fun. But we'll get. I'll get into why I mentioned that. But before we get into that, when we get too far in, I want to welcome a couple of people that are in the chat room. We got John Peters. We got Matt Pearson. We got Stefan.
Stephen Klaus,
We got
Steve
Stephen
Draculou.
Klaus. I know I saw Kathleen in the room, Pure Water. Garen's in the room. Actually, Stefan was actually the first one in the room, like about 45 minutes ago.
Dude is a devoted brother of the Blade.
Absolutely.
100%. 100%. So now we'll get into the ghost talk, but since it is it is a knife show, I wanted to ask, all of my esteemed gentlemen in the panel here, if Michael Myers was to walk into your home and given, what he has in front of him, what knife do you think he would choose to continue his killing spree from your, wonderful assortment of knives? So we'll start with Scab.
Well, there's several. I'm down to two. It would either be the old war Bowie because it's just meant for killing people, or the Roughland, which review's coming out today. Camp knife, also meant for killing people. So I think he'd go with one of these, both well balanced. He could get some distance. I think it would have to be one of either the Roughlander or the old war Bowie for me.
Excellent. Good choices. Good choices. Okay. Cap, what do you got?
My inner psycho is just kind of jumping for joy seeing that. What do I have? So Randy sent me this insanely huge,
this Randy baby,
full tang. Look at that. Look how thick this is. Randy Bungo, Eric Hussein's pop, and Eric sharpened this up. My goodness.
Oh, Eric sharpened
hear that. Let me get the mic real close to
I got it.
Well, yeah, but does it cut yellow paper?
Yeah.
I mean, anything cuts white paper. What about yellow paper?
That's yellow paper. I mean, it cuts toilet paper tubes like without me touching it. It just
that looks like definitely one of the original Michael Myers knives for sure. One of his earlier movies for sure.
That's a killer kitchen.
How about you, David? What would Mikey? What would Michael Myers take from your home?
If Michael Myers came into my house and there was this plethora of blades, which there is, what would he use? Oh, hold on. Well, not this. All right, so I was thinking, and I was looking for different things around the house, and I was peeking in my D-Bad box for the Roughlander, and then I remembered I sent it to Scab, and I thought the OEF Defender would be a great offender, but and Scab was right on the money with it. If Michael Myers was to walk into a house and see something of this caliber, there's no way he'd pick anything else. I mean, come on, he could bash through skulls with there, and he could hook through eyeballs with here, and he could just decapitate with here. I mean, the kind of things that Grandma used to do. It's the fun stuff.
I have two.
That would be it. It would be the old war.
I have three knives that I think he would probably grab. Okay, one is probably a little far-fetched, but I think he might actually appreciate. I think he would grab a kukri. Possibly. I mean, this is basically what these things were built for. No, you definitely do a lot of damage with that. But I think probably Knife of choice would be the, I can get it open, gator tail,
Yeah,
for
that was
sure.
one. That was one of my thoughts. Was the gator tail.
Michael Myers is a big guy. You know, this is definitely a nice, generous handle. Okay. So you could definitely get his hands around it, be comfortable. Okay. You know, doing his thing. And yeah, badass, full tang, solid. I definitely think it's going to be a gator tail. I think Matt Pearson actually picked the gator tail as well in the comment section there. You know, so those that's Michael Myers' knives of choice. All right. So we got some ghost stories for you guys. I got my own. Anybody want to get started? Should I get going?
Go ahead. You get going because I got a few.
All right.
I've been
So
doing this a long time.
I got a list.
I have a lot of that in my family in terms of like I have mediums in my family, and it's like I have a back history of like, you know, people who see things and hear things and have like certain gifts that they can basically sense things into the room. Now I can basically walk into a house and I can tell by a feeling if there's anything good or bad in the
Yep.
house. And most of the time it doesn't bother me, but there are certain times in my life that I've walked into certain homes and I couldn't stay in there, like I got sick. Okay. Um, I used to do, and especially if you go to like these old historic mansions and things like that in Long Island, they have a lot of these, you know, these 200-year-old mansions that they put into like these park areas that were donated to the town. Like those are just flowing with stuff. I'm a big believer in lingering spirits. Okay, and you know, it's also because I just have a lifetime of it. Okay, within my family, people who can literally communicate, you know, with them and stuff. And it's really it's not bull. I mean, it's definitely real. Okay, and I used to take pictures of homes for a real estate company. So that was like a you know, like for many years I actually took, you know, went in, you know, like the real estate photography. So I used to go into certain homes and I used to take pictures of homes. And you know, most of the time I went into the homes and they were inhabited, you know, the owners were there and stuff like that. Very rarely would I ever walk into a house that was like abandoned or I had to get a key or something like that. There was one particular home that I walked into. It was in, I can't forget it. It was in like Westbury in Long Island. And the home was abandoned. So I physically had to go pick up the key from the real estate agent to actually go open it up. Now, when you pull up, obviously I take pictures of the exterior of the home at first. And nothing seemed pretty much out of the ordinary. It just looked like a nice Long Island home type of thing. It was abandoned from what I heard. So then I went into the front door. I opened it up. As soon as I opened the door, it's hard for me to describe it to you, but you know, like if you walk into a sauna and like it's cold on the outside. As soon as you go into the sauna room, you feel like this amazing amount of heat that hits you. It's like going into like a barrier type of thing,
You go dreams.
you know? So I just felt like there was something pressing against my chest as soon as I walked in. And I knew right off the bat there was something really bad in this house. Okay. Now, I mean, the house itself looked like a freaking scary ass home. I mean, it was dark. There was no lights. It was just weary in there. It was just, there was something in there. So I was basically going around, doing my normal thing, taking pictures of the home for the real estate, all that stuff. And the more time that I spent in the home, the more I couldn't breathe. Like I felt like just constraining on my chest. Okay. It honestly felt like something was pushing me out, like get out. You can't be in here. We don't want you here, type of thing. And I mean, I saw shadows in the corner of my eyes. It was just to the point where I really wanted to vomit, but I had to finish up the shoot and get the hell out of there. So it's hard for me to describe to you what it feels like. Okay. But I felt like I've walked into homes and I felt presences of things that were okay, that were good, that really wasn't there to bother you. You know, I feel that a lot, even in my own apartment. And there's certain things that just don't bother me. I know they're not looking to cause you harm. They're just lingering spirits type of thing. But this particular house, there was just something really bad in there. And I felt it. So I did my thing. I went
Question,
around.
Joe.
It was just, yes. What cat?
Was there any furniture in this place, or was it just kind of empty, or was it a big place or kind of small?
It was a pretty big place. It was a dual level home. There wasn't much furniture. A lot of things were cleared out, but there was this really freaky ass like little workshop. It was like in like they closed up the garage and they put like there was like a workshop type of thing, and it was just really freaky in there, like all these relics and things. It was just strange. But besides how it looked, it's how I felt in there that really troubled me. Okay, so I couldn't wait to get the hell out of there. Once I left the house, I locked it up. In the car, I still had trouble breathing. Okay, I was just really sick to my stomach, like
That could
pain
be
in my head.
mildew though too. You gotta try, and when you go into a place, the first thing I do is just debunk the snot out of anything I can. You said it was old, mostly empty, half the stuff, old workshop. You got to
It,
think about like
It was
mildew.
abandoned,
Shit,
but
yeah,
there's more to the story because
yeah.
it troubled me so much. I did some research on the house, but the whole car ride, I had a migraine and I had pressure on my chest, and I couldn't really get a deep breath in. Okay, it was only until I dropped off the key and got the key out of my possession and gave it to the real estate agent that I started feeling better. It was the strangest freaking thing. As soon as I got rid of the damn key, I felt better.
You were completely done with that, so the energy was gone.
I kid you not, man. It was crazy. I mean, it. There was other times I went into these old bed and breakfast homes that I was working, and I just felt shit going on in there. Okay, there was a bride I was shooting in an old bed and breakfast place, really historic bed and breakfast place in Staten Island, and she had told me the night before, because I had said when I walked in there, I said she slept there the night before. So I asked her, I says, are you okay staying here? she goes, honestly, she goes, I was last night, the weirdest thing, she was getting changed in her room. And at the same time, all of the blinds popped open on the windows, all at the same time. They just popped up as she was getting changed in the room. It's just really
Oh hell
freaky
no!
shit.
I'd be out of
Really,
there.
really freaky shit. So getting back to that Westbury home, it troubled me so much. I did some research on it. So I found out the history of the home. The husband and wife died in the house. And and that's basically that's I found out. I guess it was obituaries or something like that. They actually died in the home, and I guess the kids couldn't sell it. They decided to kind of sell it now, but that's the history of the home. That the husband and wife actually died in the home, and I guess they died with a lot of regrets or whatever it is. But there were definitely some crazy lingering spirits in there, man. I got a million for you, but I believe in this stuff 100%. But
Well,
what else you guys got for me?
I'll say this real quick. I'm gonna let you guys do most of the talking in this one. Here's two things. One is 1700s, 1800s. We didn't have internet, didn't have old Scab, didn't have D-Bad to entertain. So spiritualism became a thing where you communicated with the spirits, etc. My personal belief, and this is just a personal belief, is people got to fooling around with stuff they knew nothing about and open up stuff they knew nothing about. Not in any wicked or malice type way, especially up there, Donnie, where you and Joe are, where you're snowed in 9-10 months out of the year.
Yeah, well,
I know the Carolinas are ate up with it. I think that's a big thing. And then the second thing is this: I'm a big history guy, family history. My 10th great grandfather was Roger Toothaker. He was a dentist. That's the truth. You can look him up. He and his wife were accused in the Salem witch trials. He died. They said he died in captivity of natural causes. They naturally tortured him to death. My 10th great grandmother, Mary Toothaker, actually said, "Yeah, I'm a witch."
Wow.
Her and her daughter, so that they let you go. They were excommunicated or kicked out of the community. But Donnie and Cap speak to those things there. I know the Carolinas, the Appalachian, all that's ate up with it. And I know there's a lot up in Mass. And my personal belief, Mass, New York, all of that is from some of those. Again, no malice. They were just doing their thing. Do you ever run into any of that?
Well, before we get into that, Garen asked Scab a question. It's on the
Yeah, and
screen.
it's still haunted. Yeah, I've been in there.
You've been in there. Okay.
Ghost hunters actually came and did it's actually, Garen, I live 2 miles from it.
Okay.
Yeah. It's something else.
So in Salem, Massachusetts, it's a gigantic history, the whole witchcraft thing and blah, blah, blah. I mean, it goes on. It goes on for thousands of years, the whole spiritual thing. I mean, you think about it, civilizations were built on spirituality, and their entire way of living was built off what the spirits guided them to do. I mean, this is thousands of years old, these practices. But with Salem, it came down to a woman who was watching the children, and
Right.
she was like this voodoo woman, and she would teach them all kinds of crazy stuff. And at one point, the kids got caught doing things, and in order to stay out of trouble, they just blamed it on somebody else, and they didn't blame it on the
Absolutely.
voodoo lady because they were scared. So they just blamed it on other people. So when it gets to Salem, people think, oh, it's because all these witches and blah, blah, blah. It wasn't a bunch of witches that were killed. It was a bunch of people that little kids, once a little kid realized I can do something completely messed up and then go, they're a witch. They made me do it.
Right.
Then, people would freak out. And
No,
that's how it was.
It was a power grab.
Yeah.
The young girl who accused my family of it, her father was a dentist.
Yeah.
The pastor was losing his grip on the town. You're right. Those, I can't think of the caretaker's name. She was hoodoo. Yeah, you're absolutely right. No, hysteria took over there.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it was. They would kill these people in the coolest ways too. With some, they would lay them down on a slab, a stone, right? And they would put a rock on the center of their chest. And then it makes it harder and harder to breathe the more, you have a piece of weight on your chest. And then they would just keep adding rocks until eventually you couldn't inhale anymore. It was just, you made that final exhale and you didn't have the strength to lift the rocks and inhale. And that's how they would kill people. You go today to the Salem Cemetery, and outside is a bunch of stone slabs and like bench type things with people's names who were murdered for all this fake witch stuff. And there's a lot of benches. So one day we were out there, and Shelly's a medium, and we were doing a thing. We're taking pictures in a cemetery at night. And one of the pictures that came across on this camera was there was a blue glow in this shit. You could see like head and shoulders, and that was it. And when we were going over the pictures, I'm looking at the pictures, and you can see through the cemetery way, way back, there was a couple of white lights from houses that go beyond. And then there's nothing else except cemetery. There's no lights in the cemetery. And we were looking, and you can see things where this blue dot was. You can see things behind it, and you can see things in front of it, showing that it was in the dead center of the cemetery. And it was really cool because it was a full figure, and it was blue. It was the only blue glow there. And we went back, and there's no blue lights shining through the cemetery. So it was kind of really cool, because after we saw that picture, we said, well, we got to go, debunk it first thing. Let's go show what it really was. There was nothing. There was nothing it could have been. And it was a perfect Head and Shoulders. Right. Which is, you never have a second chance to make a first impression. Head and Shoulders keeps you from itching. But yeah, that was pretty wild. And if you go to Salem, you can go into a building, to the old courthouse, and they actually do a reenaction of the actual witch trials, and they use the all the dialogue that was actually used. They have all the transcripts. So it's literally word for word. You're listening to the actual transcripts being spoken, not just read, but spoken.
Wow.
And they do it all old timey and whatnot. And it's really incredible. They do a good job of really presenting, showing how the case was presented. And it's word for word. So there's nothing added. There's no theatrics. It's just how it actually was. It's pretty wild. Salem's a fun place to go.
Donnie,
Cat, what you
question.
got in Appalachians?
I want to ask Donnie a question first. If he's
Yeah.
ever been to any large warships, aircraft carriers, anything like that, and has witnessed anything on those,
I was
because you've been in the military.
Right.
I was on the
I've been on
USS
the
Intrepid.
USS North Carolina and kind of witnessed some stuff.
Yeah, no, I was on the USS
Right.
Intrepid, and
So how?
like Joe, like I can walk into a place and I can feel things, and I'm not a medium in any way, and I don't pretend to be. Shelly's a medium and a sensitive. I have sensitivities, but I'm not a sensitive, so there's a big line. I can't fake it, so I'm just honest with it. I can walk into a place, and I'll tell you a story later, where I can feel something, and then. But as far as the USS Intrepid going down there, I think it was like one of the remaining ships from Pearl Harbor.
In the
And
city.
it was one of the ones
In
that
New
lived.
York.
It's in New York, exactly.
Yeah, I've been there.
And you can go on there, and there's certain areas where you can feel a little haze. But again, I mean, it's an old ship. They do keep it clean, so there's not a lot of mildew in there. So I try to think of what it could be that I'm feeling, but without evidence, without anything, it's just a feeling.
Yeah, most people like.
So with
let me ask
with
you a
some of
question,
these
Donnie.
spaces,
Go ahead, Kat.
some of these spaces that you go into that are like wide open, have some kind of natural phenomenon that kind of like claustrophobia, but it's the opposite. It's like wide open, and there's a not necessarily an energy that you get, but a psychological feel from it. But there are some places that you go that just like Joe was saying, you get this energy. It's not a psychological thing. It's not like claustrophobia
Right.
or the opposite. I forgot what the
A lot
fancy
of
word
it's
for the
residual.
opposite of
It's an energy
claustrophobia
that
is,
hangs
but
around.
right. And a lot of places that are devoid of human life, they're abandoned for the most part. I used to do a lot of security at night. And one of the buildings that I had to go into and do the security for, it was a set of 12 buildings. And this was RTP 12. It's in Raleigh. And the buildings that they had, like the first 10 buildings were inhabited. They were 4 stories. They were huge. I don't know how huge they were from one side to the other, but they were huge. It's like you could walk for 5 minutes from one side to the other. And what they had was there's a bunch of routers and computer stuff and everything. It was Cisco systems. It was something really big and important there. And they had these buildings, and one of the ones that they kind of had that they didn't do anything with, that they were leasing out to other companies, it was empty. There was stuff there. It was full of people and full of things. And I think they used the cafeteria down at the bottom of it. So like if you go into the front door of these buildings, the front door would be dead in the center, and you had all of these things off to one side or the other. And in the other 10, 11 buildings, they had cubicles and they had people, and all hours of the day, all throughout the night, they had occasionally people at midnight walking through there and everything. But RTP 12 didn't have anything, nothing. They had some chairs and cubicle stuff all folded up and stacked up on the first floor. But the rest of the floors, it was only 4 stories, plus like a little fifth little area up there that the elevator could go to. And I know that some of these elevators don't really move unless you get on them. You press a button. So took the elevator, kind of first few nights that I was checking this building, and I was there for a few years, and kind of freaked me out. I'd take the elevator, I'd go up in the little lobby of the elevator and look out into the vastness of this floor, and it had windows all the way around the building, and you can kind of see out into the night. And I'm like, nah, I'm not going down there. Well, then I thought to myself, well, maybe if I turn the lights on in this place, and some of the lights were motion censored where you walk through and they turn on, some of them weren't. And I started to turn some of the lights on where I figured that I would go and experience some of these things. And it was just like Joe said, there was always this activity on the second and third floor. I was cool with the fourth floor, but it was exactly the same. I don't understand it, because when I went to the fourth floor, perfectly the same mirror. If I was to take a picture of the second, third, and fourth floor and show you and say which one is which, you couldn't tell. Second and
Right.
third floor, couldn't stand it. I got to the
Yeah.
point where I had to abandon the elevators and quit using those, and I'd take the stairwells up each time.
Right.
And there was nobody else there. So I'm taking the
Right.
stairwells up. I'd walk towards the elevators from the outsides of the building. And next thing I know, the elevators would start moving and stuff. I'm like, maybe they're on some kind of timer, or if you enter the building or something. That's not the case. And I also had people that were watching the cameras that I could radio and say, look, is there anybody else in the building with me? And I started to notice that the lights and stuff in certain areas would turn on and turn off. Elevators would move. It's crazy like that. I mentioned the battleship because I've been in a battleship, and I sort of kind of felt the same way in certain areas, like certain decks of the ship and everything, but not really. Some of the areas that you would think that you'd have a big problem with, like down in the very bottom of the ship, I didn't have a problem with. Some of the other areas, though, like where the captain would stand and kind of deal with the ship stuff, I didn't like that area. It's just something about it.
Yeah,
I've
it's
got a
hard
bunch
to
of different
explain.
stories here if y'all want to go over them one day.
Yeah, definitely. I do a lot with
it's
just from the
not
hunts
like,
alone. I have a bunch, but Garen just asked a question. He said, "Is a place where people have died violently more prone to being haunted?" And it's a yes, as far as because you have obviously more spirits collected in a single place. If you're talking about where people have died rather than a person, but you got to remember this: if a person dies unwell, if their death was sudden, if it was impactful, if it was a hard death,
Right.
mental institutions,
the amount of energy that's left in that space is a lot bigger than if somebody passes in their sleep. So yeah, you have residual haunts and you have intelligent haunts. A residual haunt is like when you go to like Gettysburg. I was at Gettysburg, and you can hear cannon fire at certain points of the night between, like, say 4 and 5 in the morning. You can really catch it. You can catch some things. You can hear marching. When I was in the Colosseum in Rome, we were standing there, and out of nowhere, you can just hear the crowd, like, and it was weird. Like, you could hear the crowd, and what that is the energy of these people. Not their spirits are there, but their energy has been left, because why would 1,000 people die and go to the Colosseum to cheer? It doesn't. That's not what it is. So residual energy is the energy of people left behind, something that was so impactful that it's left. Where an intelligent haunt is something to where, like, if you go to my video, real spirit EVPs, you'll hear actual conversations take place to where these spiritual beings, the people that aren't in the room, are communicating, and I have them on actual tape. You can hear them talk.
Hold on, real spirit,
responding directly to comments and questions.
EDP, real spirits,
electrical voice phenomenon, EVPs. So it's real spirit,
not
EVP-S. But go no EVP. That's
all right,
EVP.
EVP.
You can't spell P.
All right, I mistyped. All right, EVP. Okay.
And there's an S at the end. EVPs.
EVPs.
But you'll hear some Class A EVPs, like, as in, there's a guy named Reggie that we communicated with, and he's a black guy, and he had his spirit was left behind, and he had something to do with a gun, is why he's stuck. And at one point we were talking to him, and I'd asked if it was something about a gun, and he responded with, "I thought it was a toy gun." And you can hear it completely. It's just crazy the way it goes through.
Now I'm getting creeped out.
I had something like that in Florida. I had some Florida situations, and me personally, Scab, I think Florida is the most haunted state in the country. Okay, and I'll tell you why. Because you know how they say a lot of people go to Florida to die, especially people from New York, and a lot of them have died in these condo areas, man. I
Well,
mean,
here's the
died
thing.
in the condos, and they're just anything. See, my belief is, and what I've been taught and what I've known, all these spirits that linger are spirits that just didn't pass on, and they're lingering for a reason. Whether you call it unfinished business, or they don't know they're dead, or they're just
Purgatory.
not passing on for a reason. And like you said, D, like like horrible debts that basically, it's just that's where these lingering spirits come from. These spirits that basically can't pass on for whatever reason, and they're just walking. They're just and they're doing their thing. And that's where these lingering spirits are coming
Well,
from. These
some are
spirits that
just
don't
weren't ready
pass.
to leave. They
Weren't
weren't
ready
ready
to
to
leave.
leave, and
They
they
just can't
want
pass.
to stay where they were.
Right.
And they figured that they put an ownership on something, even a person. Like we talked to a spirit where they wouldn't let another spirit pass, and we said we can help you. We can help you come to the light. And the spirit literally said, "Yeah, right." And it
Right.
was just like you
Big
can't,
Red.
like you have
What's
no
up, Big?
idea.
How you doing, JB? Thanks for joining us.
So real quick, I'm gonna tell you a quick story about a couple things that were cross mentioned. Cap mentioned doing security, and you mentioned how you can get a feeling into a place. We have a mansion out here. It's the oldest mansion in New England. It's in Springfield, Massachusetts, and it it's been abandoned forever, but it still stood in the same place forever, and then it was eventually moved. But before it was moved, we had this place for a security place I was with, and it was something that we'd have to go and we'd have to check on every now and then. And in the last time we spoke, we talked a little bit about ghost stuff, and I told you about my buddy who's haunted and had a bunch of problems. This guy's haunted all over the place, and he's super sensitive, but it's never good. So he goes in to do a road check, and he goes into this house, and it was his first time going in to check it at night. And so it's about 2 in the morning, and I get a phone call. And I pick up the phone, and he says, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I said, "Nothing." Why? He says, "Can you come to NEMF?" And I said, which is what the building was called for some reason. So New England something. So I said, yeah. And immediately I already knew what it was because he's always haunted and I love ghosts. So I get to the house and he's standing outside. He won't go inside. He's just pale. He won't go in. And he's a white guy, so he's already kind of white, but he's whiter than normal. So I said, "What you got?" He goes, "Just walk through the house and tell me when you got it." So he stood with the door open. He stood in the doorway, and I'm thinking, all right, creepy old mansion, goes way back in the day. So let me first go to the basement. So I hit the basement, and it was like the most peaceful home I'd ever been in. It felt so good. I go to the basement, do that. I hit the first floor. I go to every room. I go to the second floor. I hit every room. And then there's the third floor. I go to the third floor, and I get to the top of the stairs, and I make a right. And there's bedroom, 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 right? So I hit bedroom, bedroom, nothing. And then the front of the house, there's 2 rooms that face the road. I go into one of them, nothing. And I'm thinking, he lost his mind. I've already been in every room in this house. There's one more room to go to.
Right.
I said, his mind is finally gone. So I go into this last room, and then I just got goosebumps right now. I go into this room, and I just felt it. So I leaned my head out the door, and I said, "Got it." And he says, "What room are you in?" And I said, "Third floor, left bedroom." And he goes, "Yep, I'm done." And I stayed in there for a minute, and I was just trying to collect it. And I come outside, and he goes, "That's the room." He goes, "I'll never go back in this house again." And I looked at him, and I said, "It feels like children were brutally murdered in that room, like bad, like multiple children were badly murdered in that room." And he goes, "That's exactly what I got." And he to the day when they had that contract, he never went back in the house.
Right. Well, let me ask you a question, D. What does it feel like? Because it's hard for me to describe. What does it feel like to you when you walk into a home? Now, do you have a different feeling where you feel like something is present but not particularly harmful? Or is it different from walking into a space or an area where you feel like something does mean you harm? Do you
Yeah,
feel
so
different?
So let's say you're walking down the street, it's late at night, and there's an alley, and there's 6 guys over there staring at you, and they all got a weapon in their hand, and you just get this feeling like, well, if I go down that alley, there's probably going to be a fight. You know
Right.
what I mean? It's like that internal thing that tells you either don't go there and don't or do go there.
Right.
It's like the angel and the devil on your shoulder. It's like they're telling you, man, something's not right here. And
To
every now and
me, it
then,
feels
like in
like
that
somebody's
one,
standing there pointing their finger at you.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, and
Right.
and I you go in and every now and then, like even though I'm not a like a medium, like when I went into that room, it was there was so much energy and it was so strong that I wasn't just picking up, all right, something was here. I was picking up like, man, and it's not a conscious feeling. You don't go in there and you say, okay, let me see how these people died. It was so strong that it just
Right.
made you feel that way, you know, and it's I don't know, you
There are
get like
some
the
feelings that I get
really
like
cool
that,
tingle.
that I get the aggressive thing, but I
Yeah,
also get the feeling sometimes, like if I go in, it's almost like a permission. Like they're saying, if you come in here and you act right, you're going to be cool, but just let it be
yeah,
known that
Yeah.
we're
we're
watching you.
watching
We're
you.
Yeah,
watching you.
Kind of
Yeah.
like that kind of feeling. But then there are
yeah.
some places that I've been that it's like, nah, you don't belong here. Get out.
Yeah, and some want you in. They draw you in. You
Right.
can be drawn into a place, either good or bad. They can draw you in.
That's
But
what I feel.
if something wants you there, you're
Yeah.
going to get there somehow, and you don't even know how. You know,
Well,
it's like if you're driving somewhere and you take a turn you've never turned before, and you don't know why you turned that way, and then all of a sudden you either find something or something happens, and you're thinking, "Wow, I would have never found this if I didn't go this way." It's like there's something that pulls you. You know what I mean?
what's funny because you mentioned energy many times as far
Yeah.
as having energy in a space. The scientific explanation of a soul is actually energy that doesn't, because energy doesn't die.
Right.
The energy you have in your bodies doesn't die. When you
Yeah.
die, it changes form.
Yep.
And that would be the closest scientific explanation for a soul, is actually energy that changes form.
And that's why we have these. It just it feels energy and it points it out.
Right.
Between that and this right here, this is a special box, and these things are awesome. You turn it on, and you hear that little music box. It's
Yeah.
got one of those self-playing music boxes. This will sit, and it won't make any noises at all. Of course, now it's doing it because I just moved it. But now it's stopped. If something passes in front of it, it'll go off. If nothing passes, it'll stay like that forever. It will never ever chime.
Right.
So you leave this, and my hand just got too close to it. But
So like
you leave
animals
that,
could set it
and
off and stuff.
yeah, exactly. When something gets in front of it, and it's an electromagnetic field, it's energy, it'll go off. It's the same way. This is a ITC talker. So basically, what this does, it's a little box and it has a stored dictionary in it with 5,000 words. And what it'll do is, if something is trying to speak to you, they can use their energy to pick out the words that are in the saved dictionary and create like a sentence. And we've gotten some good stuff. There was one of the ghost shows where they had this, and it was in what do you call it? The Rock in San Francisco over there, the prison.
Oh, the
Um,
penitentiary. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so a guy
Alcatraz.
was Alcatraz.
Alcatraz.
A
Yeah.
guy
The
was
Rock.
lit on fire and thrown over a railing, right, from a certain cell. So they get up there and they have this box and they start asking questions and they say, "How did you die?" And the only 2 words that came up, remember, he was lit on fire and thrown over the balcony. The 2 words that came over, which would be completely random, were fire, fall. That's what came over. And I mean, if you think it's got 5,000 words, it could have said butterfly, right? It said fire,
Wow.
fall, and in an area where the guy was lit on fire and thrown over a thing. He fell to his death. So I mean, there's some things that are just too not random to be, and to overlook. And it's just that kind of stuff really, really is cool to me. And we were talking about energy and how it feeds. This bad boy right here is called a Connect camera. This is a very, very major piece. And what it does is whenever there's cameras in here and they're a certain kind of camera, it picks things up. So if it was pointed at me, you'd see me, my entire body, and then following my body, you'd see a stick figure that, so my
Right.
movements, it would read everything. If there was a spirit there, it would pick up the stick figure, but obviously not the person. So one day we were getting ready for a hunt, and we were in a place, and we started getting this weird connection before we even got started. So I threw on the Connect real quick, and I said, let's see what we got. And I turn it on, and I see Shelly and this guy John, and I could see them both. I could see their stick figures, and then approaching the side comes another stick figure. There wasn't another person in the room, right? And it sits right down next to Shelly. So I turn and I said, if you just entered the room and sat on the couch, I can see you. And you can see, the stick figure has, the stick with the shoulders and then the arms. And you can see the angle from the shoulders went like this to flat. You know what I mean? So it like turned to look straight at me. And then all of a sudden that thing died, and I haven't gotten it to work again yet. So something didn't want to be seen, apparently. And it jacked it up. So I have to send that to be repaired because it completely blew out the entire system. That never happened before, So it's pretty wild. When they take your energy or they suck the energy of whatever they want, they're going to take it,
Yeah.
That's why, we use a lot of like these.
So we've talked about
lights because it's just an extra thing for them to feed off
we've
battery
talked
power.
about indoor stuff.
What's that?
We've talked about indoor stuff in like haunted places.
Yeah.
We haven't mentioned anything like out in the wild, maybe in the swamps and stuff like that. And this is something that Cap might know a
That's why I
little bit
brought up
about,
like
about
Gettysburg.
being in the swamp back when I was younger. Yeah. Yeah. But like in a random place, like just just randomly out in the woods or something, or different areas, especially where I grew up. I grew up in a swampy area, and we had lots of wildlife. And I was going to ask about if you had like some infrared stuff on there, so if you heard or saw something, you could look and go, well, that's just a raccoon over there. But
right.
There's certain areas and animals that I've been around that are really creepy, like alligators.
Yeah.
And when Scab gets back, he can kind of touch on that too with
I love messing
swamps,
with gators.
alligators. When I
Gators
was
are
younger,
you
we
guys
used to do a
ever
lot of
hear-
shady stuff. And
Did
we
you
would
guys
be
ever
out.
hear about Suicide Forest in Japan?
Yeah. It's pretty wild. It's pretty. You could still go there, and they actually have things hanging from trees to represent where people were. Yeah, it's pretty wild. Suicide Forest is really cool.
That is pretty damn bizarre. I mean, people go in there, they just,
they don't come out.
They don't come out. They don't come out. Yeah, they camp there as a goof, and something, has them, commit suicide. It's pretty bizarre what's going on.
Most people go there to die because it's so secluded that, you can go, anybody that's been in the woods. The thing with Suicide Forest is that dumbass went and filmed the body hanging there. They said that people will go there to do that.
Yeah.
Okay? Most normal people don't go, hey, let's go for a stroll in Suicide Forest. So
yes, Drac,
I think there's an energy there. I think there's probably a depressing thing there.
Yeah.
Garen said, welcome back. Listen, I don't talk a lot during these things, especially when we have guests. I'm listening. I do want to say this, though, about Green Cove jail. Make it really quick. I went there. Now, this was when I was on drugs. So you got a lot of cocaine. And I'm not trying to be funny, but it alters your mind. So I was working one day, and I did it while I was working. Wasn't the smartest thing, but I go to Green Cove jail, pull up, and I was just fascinated, intrigued by, I like ghosts. Demons can kiss my ass. That kind of stuff, it bothers me on a different level. I like spooky stuff, tradition. You know what I'm saying? So I'd read a lot about Green Cove jail. They've had a sheriff killed inside there. They've had 4 inmates hung on the tree outside there. there was a gun battle in the late 1800s there. People up the road come and tried to physically take the county seat. So there's a lot of activity there, right? So I pull up and the lady comes out and she said, "Hey, are you the lawn guy?" I said, no, just like old, I didn't want to say I'm here to see ghosts, I'm already look like I just got out of the pen. So I didn't want to. So she said, "Hey," I said, I just love old buildings. She said, "You want to take a tour?" I said, "Yeah." Now, when you walk in, the first part of the jail is the offices and things like that. And in the back, you go up some stairs and they have the cells there. The cells are upstairs. And she kind of smiled. She said, "Well, we're a working archive. You can come anytime. Why don't you go on up and check it out?" And she had this like weird smile. I said, "Okay." And so a guy comes out, and they're chatting, and he said, "Yeah, man, go on up." And so they get this weird smile, just this. I'm like, so I walk towards the door and I turn around, they're smiling, and I'm thinking these people won't kill me or something. Well, if you look up at Green Cove Jail, there's a dummy that's holding on to the bars like it's escaping, pinstripe, whole thing. And I turn around and I said, "Is there anything I need to know?" And the lady said, "Well, it's haunted." I said, "Ma'am," because it took me back that she would admit it. She said, "Oh, we've been on ghost hunters. There's all kind of stuff." Well, she had a dog with her, medium-sized puppy. And she said, I can't remember the dog's name, but he didn't like to go in the back. I said, "Okay." And so I go up the stairs, kind of in my mind, trying not to psych myself out. So as I go up the stairs and come into the cell block on the left side or the south side was minimum securities, probably 4 or 5 cells right there. It's well lit. So I go down and I'm cruising down and nothing. I thought, this is kind of a rip. Well, I heard the dog come up the stairs. In the meantime, I had forgot about the damn dummy on the outside of the window. So as I come around the corner, I see the dummy. The dummy sees me. I screamed, it screamed. I hit the steel door. God's honest truth. I hit the steel door so hard with my body, it cracked the concrete.
Wow.
Scared me to death. And I thought, I can't go downstairs now. I'll embarrass myself. So I walk around to the maximum security side.
I'm recording this.
So I walk around to the maximum security side. It goes from light, and this is noon, to dark. And I mean dark. So I thought, much cooler on this side. So I go down and I thought, you are a 300-pound, 5'10" grown-ass man. Walk down there, touch the wall, and come back. Now, nobody's up there with me. The dog's up there with me, but I can't find the dog. So I walk down, and I touch the wall, and I start, and I'm telling y'all, as I'm coming by them cells, and it's probably more in my mind's eye, it was like there was a shadow figure in each cell, and just kind of watching me walk by, right? So as I go down the stairs, I hear the dog growl. And I said, "Come on now, come on." And you know how you didn't do all that. I walk down the stairs. I shit you not. When I walk out the front door, the dog comes running up to me from the owner. The dog was never in the room. There was not another dog there.
Wow.
There was never anything there. And I said, "How'd the dog get down so fast?" And the guy just laughed. He said, "Oh, you heard our ghost pet." I said, "Huh?" I said, "Come on, man. That's the true story." And there was no backstory. None of that. But they said every so often, people in there, the pet dog will go in the corner and just kind of cower. Sometimes it'll play, but the only time they hear that dog or growl is when they go in the back. That was kind of my story and I'd like to go back. When I lost the Formax from DBAT, I thought I lost it down there. So when I went down there, I go at like 2 a.m. and they've got all those boxes, Donnie, sitting on picnic tables. So I guess there was some kind of ghost adventure team down there then. But as I'm walking through the thing, you're focused on something. So I wasn't even focused on paranormal. I start hearing them things go off. And I'm like, what the hell is that? And I'm not talking about close to me. They were probably 50 yards from me. So there's some kind of energy in that area there. But you're talking about an area that was formed in the 1820s.
Right.
So 200 years old. So I think there's all kind of stuff around. The scariest I've ever been, Cap, was in North Carolina.
You got to get yourself some ghost boxes. This one right here, this is like it sweeps through like through channels, right? Really, really fast to where you can't pick up like voices. It goes through AM channels so fast that you can't pick up like a DJ or anything like that. And then if something's going to speak, it can speak through this. I actually have this one, and this one's a touchscreen one that's really badass. But these are amazing to have because you can have a conversation and you won't just hear the voice.
If I got some of that fancy equipment, I'd scare the hell out of myself.
This one, you'll actually, if a spirit talks to you, you hear it in their actual voice. So if it's a woman, you're getting their actual voice. And the best spirit box I've ever seen, I've gotten a few good ones on that video, but the best one I've ever seen was with Zach Baggins. He did one where they were in a crawl space underneath a house in the dirt. And they were in the basement. They didn't go inside this thing yet. They were using this. And the spirit who was in the room was directing them where to go, telling them where to find the bones, right? And Zach went through, he crawled into this crawl space, starts going through the dirt, and he found human bone. The spirit talked through that ghost box. It's the same ghost box. She talked through the ghost box and helped solve her own murder. They called the police. They had to get homicide down there. They swept through. They found the bones, and they were able to solve a missing persons case because Zach Baggins' ghost box picked up her voice telling them where to look. How crazy. Now, people who say, oh, there's no such thing and blah, blah, blah. This spirit got on. I mean, Zach, this missing person case has been around for 100 years. So it's not like he had any inside information, right? The police never knew where this body was. The body told Zach where to find it. He called the police and they were right. I mean, you can't make that stuff up. It's crazy. It is absolutely crazy.
The biggest douchebag on the internet to do it with too. That dude is oh my God.
Who's that, Zach?
Yes.
Oh,
I like Aaron. Aaron is my favorite. Aaron's my absolute.
Zach could be all the douchebag he wants, but that voice that came through to tell him where to go, that happened. I watched that.
Oh, I watched.
He's got there, and I was just like, well, damn. I mean, it's cool. And as far as the pet thing, everybody, you guys all know my house was built in 1771, right? This house served up some very, very high profile people, including George Washington, who came through here as general, and then he came back as president because the guy who built this was the #1 gin maker in the world at the time, and George Washington was a drunk. So basically, this house had been around a long, long time, and it took on some spirits that, over the years that just took on. So when I first came to this house, I did a private showing and I walked through. And when I got up to the 3rd floor, there was 2 rooms in a maid's quarters up there. There was a big maid's room, and then there was a small one. I don't know if she had like a son or whatever. I have no idea, but there was a small one and a big one. So I get up and I walk through the whole house, and everything was good. And I'm like, I'm surprised. There's no, I'm not getting any spiritual activity or spiritual feeling walking through this house. As soon as I get up there, I feel, not like I don't see it, but I feel a woman in the corner of this room. And I'm like, well, that's weird. It feels like there's a lady in the room. So I leave, and as I'm exiting through the back door, I feel, as I open the door, something rushed straight through me, like boom, like just a burst of energy rushed right through me. My phone, I'm not touching it. My phone just turned on and off by itself while I'm talking about this. So it's just doing it you see my hands. So that's kind of weird. So this presence goes through me through the door, and I'm like, all right, that was fucking nuts. It felt like something just went straight through my body. So then I'm like, all right, that's crazy. Shelly's a sensitive and a medium. So I'm like, I'm going to bring Shelly, but I'm not going to tell her. I'm not going to tell her a damn thing about what I felt. And I want to see if she feels the same thing. So I take her through the house and I'm like, oh, check this out. Check this out. We get up to the third floor and she's like, there's like a lady in this room. And I said, I know. and she's like, what are you? So I was like, check this out. And then I was like, I want to show you something outside. So we go to the door. And as we start to walk through the door, she goes, oh my God. She goes, somebody just like either pushed me out or went through me. And I was like, all right, good. So I'm not going mental. So then we try to bring the dogs in. And Roscoe, my big bloodhound, he's the kind of dog that he's just excited to be anywhere, and he will go into any place the door is open. He doesn't care. When I brought him to this house, to that door where the thing was going through, when I tried pulling him through, I had him on a leash, and he just stopped, and he literally dug his nails into the bricks, and there were lines on the bricks from him being pulled from trying to get him in the house. He wouldn't come in the house. So I'm thinking, I can't live in this house if my dog won't even come in, right? So I'm like, all right, I got to get one more. So there's this guy in Connecticut who's a medium and does all this stuff. And I said, I'm going to bring him in and see if this guy can maybe who knows, maybe Shelly's reading me, maybe she can feel me. So she got the woman thing because we're so close together. I bring this guy in and he goes to the third floor, same thing. He's like, there's a woman in this corner. I was like, all right, that's good. And I didn't tell him anything. I just said, hey, we're buying a house. I want to show you this house. So I didn't tell him I'm bringing you here for spiritual stuff because I didn't want to get it in his head. So then he feels the same thing at the door. He goes, oh man, this thing just rushed right through me. So we finally get Roscoe in the house by pulling him into the house, but he won't go up the stairs. Like we tried luring him with food. And if y'all ever met a bloodhound before, there is no bloodhound alive that doesn't chase down food. So Roscoe was just having a bad time. So I thought, I got to do something about this. And this is a true story. This is one of those I shit you not type things. I put on my military uniform, and through my backyard is the veteran cemetery. So I walk into the veteran cemetery and I give a salute and I tell them, who I am, my rank and all that. And I said, listen, I got a spirit inside my house here that doesn't belong there. I said, I need this spirit gone. I said, and I need this spirit kept out. And I gave him this big thing. And I said, inside this garage here, inside my barn, I have a big TV in my man cave. And I said, in payment for chasing this spirit out of this house, so anytime I'm watching football, you're more than welcome to come up and watch football with me. Phone just did it again. So I do all that, and then the next day I go to my other house and I get Roscoe, and we come in, and I'm thinking, all right, well, he's not going to come in, so I'll just leave him on the porch. I open the door to go in. Roscoe runs right in, has no problem, goes upstairs, and I'm like, well, that was weird. This is the day after.
That spirit was outnumbered.
Yeah. So I'm like, all right, let me check this. So I call my buddy back. I was like, hey man, something's going on with his spirit. I said, I need you to come here. So I went upstairs and I didn't feel it. Shelly went upstairs. She didn't feel it. So I have him come over and he walks upstairs. And the first thing he says, he goes, the lady's gone. And I was like, all right. So I told him what I did. And he goes, so you told me that you hired a ghost to get rid of a ghost. And I was like, yeah, I did. But it worked, man. It worked. And ever since then, we haven't had anything.
So you're comfortable in your house now?
See, Angry Dracaloop just said, soon as D-Bad mentioned military, the stream crashed on my end. Well, it's better than your end crashing.
Yeah.
Freaky shit.
Well,
you talk about organized haunts. There was this condo that I used to frequent with my family in Florida. And it was
I got about
basically
10 minutes, fellas, and I got to go to work.
Okay, it was on the top level. Top level. So there was nothing above us. It was a flat roof. And every night at the same time, I heard like thumping, like this, thumping. Same time, every single night that would wake me up out of a dead sleep. There were times when the TV would go on and off by itself.
Hey, Paula.
Freaky as shit. Like freaky as shit. I kid you not. Like, I mean, I'm not here to kind of say spirits are real or anything like that. I can only tell you how I feel, you know, and experiences I had. But they're just, it's hard to explain basically, you know, how I feel when something is near. You know, it's just it's a really weird feeling, and it really doesn't have nothing to do with Scab as far as how big you are. If you're a big guy, it just this shit could just overpower you. It just doesn't matter who you are, what you are. It just overpowers you.
I will
It
say
really
this
does.
about
Well,
big
it
guys:
does matter to
don't
me.
scare the crap
Yeah.
out of them and be too close within arm's reach.
Yeah.
I'm the kind of guy. I'm the one that I antagonize. I'm that guy. So if we're not getting any activity and we know something's there, I'm the one that'll jump up and start saying, "I'm what you will never be. I'm alive." And I'll just start. I'll say, "I'm alive," and you're not because you're a pussy. And I'll just try and get him. I mean, I do things to try and rile it up because I love it, man. I just I'm too stupid to have fear, and it makes it more fun for me, but sometimes you get in there and you just get nasty with them, but
Yeah, I couldn't
make
do
some
that.
interesting things happen.
I can't provoke. I can't provoke.
No, I love it.
I can't provoke. It's
I
just
love it.
like when I was
Try
in that
not to
house, the
provoke
more
it
Tommy
when it
spent
comes to
in
the
there.
home stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you got a spirit here at home, it's a whole lot different.
Yeah,
I don't know if y'all remember the story I was telling you about where I saw something. Let me see if I can move my computer a little bit and not lose you, and we'll hit on that story real quick. So Donnie's talking about the house he bought. So here I am
Now
in my kitchen.
our spirit, just for the it wasn't
home.
malicious. It just wouldn't let the dog in.
I come home through this door one night. Okay. My daughter's bedroom's over there. Our bedroom's over there. And I'm hanging out in the living room. And my little paintings here, my stepmother gave us these paintings and they look kind of creepy anyway, so it kind of gets my imagination going. But I see a tall, skinny shadow, probably about up to the door frame right there, go across into my daughter's bedroom. I'm like, okay, maybe my wife got up and went in there.
Right.
I go back there. I go to our bedroom. She's sleeping. My daughter's sleeping. Not a big deal. It kind of freaked me out. It really freaked me out because the figure looked like a male figure. It looked like a tall dude, kind of a flat top haircut, real skinny and everything. Kind of, just kind of go into my daughter's bedroom, and it kind of freaks me out because, but that's my daughter's bedroom. I'm worried about her safety. So didn't think nothing of it too much, but I did contact some people that I know that are kind of into this kind of thing. They say, dude, light some sage up, tell it to leave, do all the stuff that they tell me to do, and I'm okay. So, and I work second shift a lot. I work nights a lot, and I'm tired a lot when I come home. So I kind of chalk it up to maybe my mind's playing tricks on me. Not a problem. I'm in here one night, probably a year later, and my wife comes to me the next day and says that she's hearing me call her. You're hearing me call you? I've been out in the shop. So my shop, where you see me do my late night lecture videos, well, you're probably going to get a bunch of glare, but it's way to hell out there. It's out in the yard. It's probably a good 30 yards away. You can't hear me talking in that shop. You just can't. It's got metal all the way around it, tin all the way around it. That's why I don't do the live streams in there, because you won't pick me up. So tin around it, wood inside of it. You've seen it. You can't hear me from out there to in here. She clearly heard me calling her one night. So maybe it's your imagination. Maybe you're having dreams and stuff. About a week later, my daughter comes out here to the kitchen. Now she comes straight out here. I'm over here in front of the stove. I'm doing my thing, I'm like making a sandwich, but I'm being quiet because I want to be respectful. I don't want to wake them up. And she comes out here, Daddy, did you call me? Like, no, I heard you called me 3 times. Now she's 5. She don't really play these games with the spooky stuff. she really gets kind of scared anyway with
That's freaky.
anything, even a cartoon like a Tim Burton cartoon. She'll get really scared if she's not doesn't have anybody there with her watching. So I've had a lot of dreams, what I think are dreams. I'm not too sure. Um, but they don't take place in the same time of all of this. Like this was in this house. So we have something that happens in your house. And like when it's like in your solitude time, when you're trying to sleep, when you're trying to relax, it really rattles you. It really makes it to where you don't want to go to sleep anymore. And you're like, damn, I can't really let my guard down or something's going to happen. So
I welcome
when I
them.
met my wife, we moved, when we finally got together and got to live in the same place, we moved in this trailer out in the middle of the country. You know, a little ratty ass trailer in the middle of nowhere. I mean, there's like nothing around. There's fields around, maybe a couple other trailers in the distance, nothing. And we kind of know the neighbors a little bit. We've seen them and talked to them, so we know that there's nobody else around for miles. Late at night, one night, I'm laying in bed, and I get this, and I'm not too sure if it's just a dream that was so real to me that it freaked me out or what the deal is. But I get this that the door opens, a little girl walks in and walks right up to me and just starts touching me and talking to me, and I wake up screaming, just screaming, and I grab her and I'm like, "What in the hell was that?" And she's like, "I don't see anything." Now there's like nobody in the country. Nobody was out there. You know, neighbors don't have a little girl. Nothing. Like somebody had walked into the house and woke me up from my sleep. About a year before I met her, I had this dream that there was something coming into the house, but it wasn't a figure per se. It was strange. It was like a, and I know this is going to sound funny because my YouTube channel is Captain Electro, but it was like an electric demon, so to speak, like a neon light that kind of came into the back door, opened up my bedroom door, and came in. And kind of like when this happens, when you're like startled, it's like it kind of like gets in your face like this, and you're like, oh crap. So that was another one of those instances where I was like, I was woke up and I was sure that this was a real thing. And then you can't let your guard down. You can't sleep the rest of the night. Like, I ain't going back to sleep. It's done. I'm just going to stay awake until it's time to go to work.
I'm such
Oh,
the
man.
opposite.
So those were my
I'm
really
such the
big,
opposite.
I mean,
I'm such the
Johnny
opposite,
would be
man.
excited about it. He'd be like, let me
Yeah,
find out
I'll tell
more.
you.
And I'm like, no, I don't want to know more
After
about this.
after my father died, when my father died, and he didn't die great. He kind of died crappy. But after he died, I used to. He had a sweet tooth, right? And my mother moved out of the apartment that they lived in. I moved into that one. They moved into the one downstairs, and so I'm up one night, and my father used to love like candy, and he drank Diet Coke all the time, and all this. And I used to have this. I always kept a bowl of peanut M and M's on a table. I just always had a bowl of M and M's. People come in and give some M and M's. So the bowl was a flat bottom bowl, obviously, because if it was round, it'd roll over. But it was on the dead center of a big kitchen table, dead center. And one night I'm in there and I'm watching TV and I'm chilling out and I hear something crash and I'm like, what the fuck? So I get up and I go and I find the bowl on the floor, right? And I find the M&Ms all over the place. There were no M&Ms on the table. This is dead center of the table, which means there's 2 feet from the bowl to the edge because it's a round table all the way around. So if the bowl was to spill on the table, there'd be M&Ms on the table, right? They were on the floor. It looked like the bowl was being pulled, and then like, ooh, I got it. Because my father, if he found like somebody's sweets, he would just take it and then go into his own room and eat it so nobody would know he's doing it. So it looked like he tried taking the bowl of candy and then it fell on the floor because he can't pick it up. And so then so I had to clean it up, and I'm yelling like to him, like, dude, don't touch the M&Ms. So So then I'm laying at night and I turn off the TV and I was watching Celtics post game was the last thing I was watching before I went to bed. So it was on a sports channel, something he never watched, right? So in the middle of the night, the last channel I had on was Fox Sports New England. I remember it. Fox Sports New England. I shut off the TV. When you turn back on the TV, what comes on? The last channel you were watching, right?
Right.
So all of a sudden, I'm laying there, and it was about 1 o'clock in the morning, somewhere in there. The TV goes on a completely different channel, and it was one of the shows that he used to watch all the time. So I wake up and I'm like, what the fuck? The TV's on. And the only way it was going on is with the remote or going over to the TV and pressing the button. And the remote was on a table, so it's not like I could roll over on it. So I wake up and I see what's on, and I'm like, dude, I'm tired. Let me just get some sleep. So I shut back off the TV. It goes on again. So, and I know who it is, right? Because it's his show. I wasn't watching. It was Cops, as a matter of fact. Bad Boys, Bad Boys. He loved that show. He used to sit and watch it with my daughter. And I don't even know if Cops is on that late, but it was on when that TV went on.
That's
so
freaky.
I shut it off a second time and I yelled at him. He did it the next day as well. And then it never happened again. But it was kind of weird. It was just like, I just shut the TV off and roll back over and go to bed. And then one of my mother's roommates, her husband had died. And every morning he'd go and he'd get his cup of coffee. He'd take his cup and he'd da-da-da. The cup was inside the strainer, right? Upside down inside the strainer and not hanging on those little things on the strainer that suck, that should have never been invented, but inside the square strainer. So the only way to get it out of it would be to lift it over. So they were all sitting down and all of a sudden you could hear a smash. And I get a phone call because I'm upstairs and they said, hey, can you come down here for a minute? So I'm like, yeah. The cup was on the floor broken and nobody was in the kitchen, which means it was lifted out of the strainer and then dropped. See you later, Cap.
I don't know if Cap just left or he had to
Yeah,
go.
he said he had to go to work.
Oh, okay.
But the cup ended up on the floor broken, and there's no physical way possible that it could have fallen out. You know what I mean?
Right.
So those kind of things happen in the house all the time.
Scab, I gotta ask you a question. You always mention haunted ass church all the time. Is there any like physical history there?
Is there any what?
Any like history of things that went on there? Is it just because it's an old building? Is there anything
The
that
Klan
went
on the
on there?
property.
Huh?
The Klan on the property. It's the whole thing. Let me quantify something. When I talk about fear, it's a creepy fear. I've been shot, stabbed. That's fear. This is creepy cool. So I don't huddle up and let me explain that to you very, very quickly. But I like the creepy cool. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm kind of like Donnie. I want to find it. I think it's cool, but I think there's something to it. The church, there's a road in Jacksonville. It's called Old Kings Road. It was built by the Spanish. Now, I've said on the other show that a medium had come to the church and all this. And one thing that we've kind of put together where 295 runs, you can get off on Old Kings Road. And no king ever used it. It was just a royal, you know how they did back in the day, right? But there are several stories of the Spanish converting the natives here by way of the sword. The lady, when she come to the church, she got a very, very strong sense of a Native American burial ground there. So there's that. It was purported that the Klan actually owned the property in the 40s and 50s. So there's a lot, and I'll say this too. People say, it can't be haunted because it's church. Well, that's not true. In Christianity, the church is actually the people who go there. Cap, later, brother, love you. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Cap.
And Big Red, thank you for being in here, and Stephen and all you guys who are participating. Thank y'all. But I think there's a lot of factors that go into it. And I'll tell y'all this too. Up until I started cleaning the church, I really had no paranormal experiences. So I'm not one, and I'm kind of, I'll say this, Donnie said he's not a sense. I'm not either. I don't get vibes. I don't get feels. I'm pretty pragmatic person. now I'll get the goosebumps, and I like that. That's why I like doing the show. And I wanted to ask Donnie too, man, because you're like you and Joe, and not giving too much away. Good Lord willing, next year I'll be up near that way. But have you been to the SK Pierce?
I've done the SK Pierce. We did a ghost hunt there, as a matter of fact.
Tell me about that, because I watched. Let me say this real quick. I mentioned that about Zach, but I watch Ghost Adventures all the time. Aaron's my absolute favorite. I love the vibe they have. But
SK Pierce is cool.
I watched Paranormal Witness. To me, they're the scariest. Tell me about, did y'all get anything from the SK Pierce mansion?
Yeah. We got a few things at SK Pierce. As a matter of fact, I wish I could pull up pictures. I think I still have them on this computer. But at one point we were in the Red Room, it's called, and it's got like this really cool felty red wallpaper. And we had one of our guys. It was myself, Shelly, and this guy Wayne. And Wayne was laying on the bed, and we were trying to reach out to the spirit of, I think it was the wife. And we're talking to her and this and that. We're trying to get her, and I keep doing my thing. And he's laying there, and out of nowhere, Wayne says, "Oh, I feel like cold around," and he was waving right around his midsection, right? And so I start snapping pictures, and we keep talking. And right at Wayne's crotch, where he said he had a weird feeling, like he's in a room with me in a bedroom, so of course he's having a weird feeling. So he's talked about this weird feeling. I had this huge orb right in front of his yoho, and it was just sitting there. At the exact same time that he said he felt something, it just happened to be right there. And there was no dust particles in the room. There was nothing else flying around. And it was at the same exact moment, at the same exact time, at the same exact place where he said he felt something. So that was pretty cool. And then I don't know how much they told you about the place, but if you ever heard about the Rape Room, right? There was a room where they used to have either like a snooker's table or something, and they would, all the like politicians and higher end up people would go into this place, and they'd start, it was the gaming room, and they'd have games. And then there was this big closet inside the room where they would drag women in and rape them. They would rape women. And we had a radio host. These two radio hosts were there from local radio stations, and they were doing it with us. And they always take things seriously, but every now and then we get them some good stuff. So so there's a female, and she is in the room with us, and I'm taking pictures of her, and I'm kind of watching her as she's going through, and they're trying to tell her to go inside the rape room, go inside this closet. And so she was like, okay, yeah. So I'm watching, I'm taking pictures, and I'm not seeing anything with my naked eye. I'm just watching her and shot in concession, watching her walk. She goes inside this closet, and all of a sudden she starts getting this real dirty feeling, bad feeling. And she starts getting paranoid. And so we're like, all right, come on out. And she was like having a hard time, like coming out basically.
Right.
And so finally she comes out, and she's like, I'm never going in there again, blah, blah. And when I looked at the pictures, there was an orb, like a little orb that followed her dead from every boom, 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 and into there. And then it was like inside right over her. And then I had a little video, and you can see as she walked, you could watch it, follow her right in, and then loop around. A piece of dust isn't going to go like that, and loop around and then hover right above her. And then as soon as she came out, it was gone. It was, so we had stuff like that.
Now, do the people, have they moved in, or did they just,
a new family bought it? They were in the process of doing some reconstruction. That's how we got in there, because they hadn't lived in it yet. But yeah, they had some pretty cool stuff, man.
So
great. It's beautiful.
Well, SK Pierce was a furniture magnate up there, and they said his wife, I believe, actually, did she pass in the home or right before it was built?
Yeah, I thought it was in the home. I think Shelley remembers all that. She read the book.
Yeah. But that one was more fascinating to me because I can't remember the couple's name, but there was the ghost child, and there was all this thing. And when you see all this stuff, the Castillo St. Augustine, the castle in St. Augustine is purportedly haunted, as well as the lighthouse responding to Garin. I guess what's the most, like, I know you're doing the Lizzie Borden thing.
Yeah.
Have you done that yet?
We did the tour in the Lizzie Borden,
But
and
are you doing the overnight?
And now we're doing we're doing a late night ghost hunt on Halloween night, which is
Nice.
the best night you can possibly do a ghost hunt on. It just has a different kind of energy. So we're doing that on Halloween. So this coming Sunday. That's gonna be balls to the wall. I don't know if I can go live on it or not. I'll try, but if I can just throw I obviously won't, it'll be me and Shelly doing a ghost hunt, so I won't be able to pay attention to the thing. But if I can throw up the camera while I'm walking through, and that way, if there's something that happens that I don't see, who knows? Maybe somebody will see it through the camera. I just have to figure out a way to wear the camera. You know what I mean? So I can do that. But if I can do that, I'll try to get a live going.
Yeah, that would be mad cool if you could do a
so
live.
I'll see what I can do. But yeah, that's gonna be fantastic. We go into like the House of Seven Gables out here. A lot of the Salem witch stuff we go into. Like the Salem Cemetery is just a big one. We have we have tons of old cemeteries, obviously, but all kinds of crap. And then I did a ghost hunt in the old Northampton Insane Asylum. I remember they shot movies in there because this place is so badass. But we did stuff in there. I mean, I got to hit some pretty cool locations, but we're trying to up our game. When Shelly and I, especially when we're in Arizona, we really want to get a new team started and do stuff out there as well.
So Shelly's as interested in this stuff as you are. So you guys are pretty much on the same page.
Shelly's like a super sensitive. She doesn't like play into her.
You guys are like the Warrens.
But yeah. And I was telling him off camera before we started. We were up there, down there actually in Connecticut, where the Warrens had their museum where Annabelle was stored and this and that. We went to the house, but you can't go in; it's closed. Even though the people still live there, they just won't allow won't allow the business to run. And so here we are. We're in this town, and we didn't even know it was there. We're looking for cool things to do because Derek Pontier, my drummer, I had to drop him off at a guitarist's house because they were flying to Denver for a gig. So he happens to live in that town. And so we go over to check out the house, and you could, there's the house, and then there's like a building next to the house, and that's where they had all their stuff. But the neighbors were so pissed off because it's just a dead end side street, and there's no parking lot. So when people wanted to come to the museum, all these freaky ghost, checker outers, they would park on the side of the road, and it just pissed off the people. Yeah. So it just took one person to complain, one neighbor, and they had to shut down, which kind of sucks. So,
well, didn't Miss Lorraine, she just passed this past year, didn't she? Or is it
so I was just getting
Didn't she pass on Easter?
Somewhere in there, I think so. Yeah. So
it was like on Easter Sunday.
So we decide, when we're looking for fun things to do, we look up old cemeteries. Like we just went to one in Greenfield. So we go to the cemetery, and I'm walking through, and I see this one stone that has tons of visitors because there's little rocks, there's coins, there's flowers, which means people are visiting this thing recently. So I get there and I start reading it, and it was the Warrens, and I'm like, "You got to be kidding me!" It was both of them. So we had a little talk there with them.
That's mad cool.
Yeah, that was cool. But the problem was it was during the day, and I had some
Johnson's family. Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining.
Had some attempted EVPs going, trying to record, but there was traffic outside, so it was kind of a dirty situation. So I'd love to go back there at night.
Well, maybe this spring we can do that. Have y'all been to the Pine Barrens Forest, Joe?
No, where's that?
In Jersey. Really?
Pines Barrens Forest.
Pine Barrens Forest.
I don't think I've ever heard of it.
What?
No.
Yeah.
The Jersey Devil?
Oh, the Jersey Devil, I've heard of the story.
It's in Pine Barrens Forest. Y'all need to look that up, man.
If you said, have you ever gone looking for the Jersey Devil? I would have said no, but I know what it is.
Yeah, well, Pine Barrens Forest, there's the Jersey Devil purportedly there.
Yeah.
That's also a major place for mob dumping.
Yeah.
But that forest there in New Jersey, I'd love to check that out because is that where they did the Blair Witch thing, or was that in Massachusetts?
I'm not sure where they filmed it.
It was one of, I can't remember, but I'd like to check that out. Now, we got Lizzie, we covered S.K. Pierce. I was trying to think of some other, the thing with the Warrens, they were pioneers in this stuff. Now, isn't their nephew, I can't think of the guy's name, but I think he's got a show. Dang, I can't remember the guy's name.
Might be the one that lives there, because a guy came out when
John.
we pulled up. Yeah, we didn't really talk to him, just kind of waved at him and this and that. But somebody obviously lives there, and it might be him.
I got you.
Possibly, yeah.
No,
But,
I
yeah,
know that
there was another place we just went to too. I can't think of it.
Yeah, the Warrens were actually the first ones that actually went into the Amityville house back then.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Warrens.
Yeah, I'd like to do that. There's a train tunnel out here that we have to get to. That is, it had, when they were building it, a lot of people died in the making, making of this tunnel, and it's said to be pretty good. So that's one of those ones we got to hit. Man, there's so many out here. It's just insane.
Well,
but a lot of that highway goes to.
Again, I think a lot of it is from the 17 and 18 and clearly before then. But I think the folks with the spiritualism, and again, no, I don't think it did anything with malice, but I think they opened some portals that, and now people mentioned the Bell Witch and that kind of. I think the dude's wife figured out he was having an affair with a neighbor and she killed him, and then they made up the Bell Witch.
Right.
Yeah. That one's not too mysterious to me, but one of the things I was going to say is one of the most scared I've ever been was in North Carolina. I was staying with my grandmother, and they lived in the foothills. My uncle and aunt still do, but live in the foothills there of North Carolina. And so I'm 9 or 10, and my parents had gone up to Ohio for some reason. So I'm staying with my uncle. He built a house on the side of a mountain. At the top of the mountain, there's this wagon trail, right? And it's closed down. It was just an old-timey Appalachian trail. If you know anything about the Appalachians, there's a lot of the Scotch Irish are there, so there's a lot of culture and a lot of history there. And I like being in the woods, always have. Well, my dumb ass, I'm up one night, he's asleep. I reach over and grab a book and start reading. It was Helter Skelter.
Yeah.
So I decided to read Helter Skelter in the middle of the woods, and I'm 11 or 12 years old. I don't know that I slept for a damn week the whole time I was there. So a lot of it on my part was self-induced.
Yeah. There's a place out here that's pretty badass that we found on accidents in Burlington, Vermont. And what it is you go into the woods and there's a mountain, and at the top of this mountain, it's like more like a foothill type mountain, right? And you get to the top and there's a tower built out of stone, and near the bottom of the mountain is a huge building, an empty building. It's like a rectangular place, and then there's a cemetery right outside of that. What this place was an old mental asylum or mental type home type thing, and it was out in the woods. So the cemetery is made up of a bunch of these mental asylum people, where I did find a Frankenstein, and I was like, hell yeah.
Nice.
She's like this chick, and her last name was Frankenstein. I found her.
Wow,
stone.
that's crazy.
That was badass. So we go over and we're hunting out the asylum. We're checking it out. We're trying to see through, and it's like there's no windows, so it's kind of tough. So it's pretty hairy where you have to look through. And then we go up to this tower, and the tower is locked at the bottom, but it used to not be. And what it is, it was built by the mental patients as something for them to do. Basically, they built an actual tower. And what happened, the reason they had to lock it is because the mental patients who built it were going up there and then jumping off to their death. And then and so you think about it, this is back before, all the forensic teams would go in there with a clean sweep and no, so there's still like teeth and different things and
Oh, wow.
probably brain particles all over the grounds out there.
Wow.
But you go out there just in the middle of the woods, this tower, and when you get to it, you're standing, the ground there is where bodies had just crashed down. Like so many that they had to lock it up and ban people from going in, because I think even the non-mental cases, when the thing was open and people were allowed to go up, they would go up there and something would drive them to go over.
To go over.
So it's pretty cool just to walk through this middle of the woods and you just find this thing there.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild because there's no markings for it. There's no, oh, hey, if you want to find this building, go there. No, you just walk through and find it.
That's insane.
Grugs, I know before this show started, he was very freaked out about it because this stuff really bothers him. I'll be honest with you. I don't poke anything, man. I
do.
don't know. I was taught at an early age to kind of just don't mess with it, man. Like
I'm like the pokey little puppy when it comes to spirits.
nah, like the Ouija board. That always, like, I had the fear of God instilled in me from my family with the Ouija board. It's like, don't touch it, don't go near it, don't keep it in your house, don't buy one, don't play with it, don't play with it with your friends because you don't want to invoke anything that you can't get rid of.
I've got 2 Ouija board stories and both are kind of short.
God, I hate Ouija board.
So the Ouija board is really cool because it can happen, man. So we were doing a Ouija board on a friend's porch one time, and the girl was inside the house, and we're doing this Ouija, and it was late at night, and she was nowhere near us. She was inside the house, and we were on the front porch. The door was closed. We're talking, and we're trying to get the spirit to say, and it kept saying, oh, come, let me out. And we kept saying no because it's asking for permission to get out. Yeah. And we kept saying no, and we changed the subject, and it kept asking the same thing. So then we said, "What's your name?" And we're on it, and it went C-U-N, and as it just got to the T, all of a sudden the door bursts open. She comes running out of the house, and she kicks the thing, the marker.
Oh,
and she goes, man. Do you guys know what this fucking thing is doing? And we're like, where did you come from? She goes, it said cunt. And we didn't say it out loud as it went to the C-U-N-T. We were just watching. She was inside the house and like either felt it. It was her Ouija board. And she either felt it or she knew. She come busted out of the house fast. So that was one. That was a crazy one. And then my buddy had one. And we were doing a Ouija thing at his house. And actually, I have a seance story too. That's kind of cool. So we're doing this Ouija and we get done, and he was kind of freaked out by it. And he's like, no, this isn't right. So he takes the Ouija board and he put it in his fireplace. We're all there, and he put it right in the fire. He burned it. So so he burned it. The next day, the Ouija board was on his mantle, right? And it was an old Ouija board. It wasn't one of those Hasbro made ones. Yeah. And apparently whoever either made or bought was the original owner of the Ouija board is the only one who's allowed to destroy it, those real Ouija boards. And so when the morning came and he saw it on his mantle, he called us up and he's like, what the fuck? And we're like, what?
Wait, you're not shitting me right now. That's
over his house, and there it is. It's sitting right on his mantle.
Damn.
We burned it. We watched it burn. That was one of the nuttiest things. And then during a seance, we had this guy that lived across from my friends, and he had this big grand piano in his window. And we're sitting there doing a seance, and then somebody out of the blue said, "Oh, hey, why don't we get Liberace? Liberace, come play the piano next door." And it's in front of this big bay window. So, we were joking and laughing about it. And then within a couple hours, the police were at the guy's house, and he was freaking out. And the next day we found out that his piano was playing, and he called the police. Wow. The police showed up to his house. We're looking out the windows like, what the fuck? But I thought that was pretty wild. I mean, we never found out if it was anything Liberace played, but we asked that Liberace came and played the piano, and the guy was so freaked out by what happened, and we didn't hear the piano. We just saw the blue lights show up, that he called the police so freaked out that his piano started playing, and he didn't have an automatic playing piano.
Now, what are the rules? Like, I refuse to make here. I want to quantify this too. The ghost stuff I like. Demons are totally different. I don't want to mess with that. That's a personal thing and based on my beliefs. That's it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Ouija boards I don't mess with. But
Yeah.
Donnie, what are the rules for getting rid of a Ouija board? Can you get rid of one?
Yeah,
What's
well,
the correct way?
Nowadays you can go get a Ouija board made by Hasbro or
No,
whatever.
I mean the original. The
But if you're talking
original.
about an old Ouija board, like from what I read, it's the person that either created or the original owner, the first owner, or the owner gifted the original person would be the one that has to get rid of or destroy the Ouija board. I mean, is it true? Who knows? I mean, maybe you can get rid of one. I know
Well,
that
you just answered it with your story.
I personally witnessed one on a mantle.
Yeah. I mean,
could that how else can I explain that? I don't know. Can
Right.
I tell you that definitively the Ouija board came back to life and went up to his mantle? No. Did he have a spare one that had to be a really old Ouija board? I don't know.
Right.
But he was pretty freaked out. He was pretty freaked out. So.
There was like I say, I like all those shows. I talk to John Peters about it all the time. I watch A Haunting. To me, there's not a scarier one than Paranormal Witness.
Which is the one with what show is the one that has the girl medium and then the New York detective?
The Dead Files.
That's actually a fantastic show.
I love her facial expressions.
Yeah, she's quirky and mental, and she bugs the crap out of me. But she goes through and she nails it every time.
Yeah. Well, good. The creepy guy that's always filming her is her. Well, now it's her ex-husband.
Yeah.
The guy that's always like walking around.
Yeah, with the short hair. Yeah.
Yeah, but I actually like that show a lot. I like The Detective. I like because they back it up with fact.
Right. Right. He goes through and does his own investigation.
Yeah.
And she goes in there and she'll say, "Ooh, this is what it is." And then she'll they'll have the forensic drawing and she brings it to the people. And if the people have ever seen the thing, they always look at it and go, "Oh my God, that's the one." Or the drawing happens to match a photo from somebody 100 years ago that lived there. It's just crazy, man. I think The Dead Files is a really well done show. It doesn't get the hype that Ghost Hunters and all these things do. But I think it's done better because there's just more realism to it.
Yeah, I agree. JB, thank you for coming by, Bubba. Have a good day at work. Here's the thing with that. When you can back it up, and like I said, and again, people either believe it or they don't. I've seen some very, very Megan barely believes in anything. Seriously. I mean, and mean is the damn devil herself. But when it comes to that haunted ass church, I mean, now if there's a certain, and here's what's crazy, Donnie, Joe, one of the things too, when I go at night, and that's to back up my thing, it's not a tough guy thing. I mean, I got a job to do, so I go like, I went Saturday night. I get there at 1 a.m. And like Donnie said up front, you gotta debunk a lot of stuff. Well. And if anybody wants to look it up, it's at the end of 6500 West 5th Street in Jacksonville, Florida. 6500 West 5th Street, Jacksonville, Florida. It's a steel building. I live in Florida. It's hot year round. So I know during the day, sun hits it, it gets hot. This time of year, as it starts to cool off, you're going to hear the cracks and pops and dings and donks.
Yeah.
That's one thing. Last week I went, get everything done, get all my trash. Yes, she has drugs. I get all my trash out to the truck. That's why she don't go back. Get all my trash out to the car. Donnie, I go through, I turn off every light because I do it quickly. And here's the other thing that gives you a little bit of hesitation at the church. I went in there one night, and I'll make this quick. Went in there one night about 2 a.m. When I ran a cleaning company. It was my last stop. I go in, I turn on the lights in the foyer. The church doors are shut to the auditorium, but I can see through the back to the green room, the lights on. Not a big thing, not unusual. I go in the bathroom. I do, 5-10 minutes of sprucing up, grabbing my trash. I come out. I look to the back. the lights off. And I said out loud, I said, not tonight. If your ass is going to be here tonight, do some cleaning. I was just tired, you know. So dump the trash. I come back, the door shut, the lights on. Now the auditorium's pitch dark, so I can clearly, and I see a shadow go by. And I thought, all right. So I go in the auditorium, flip on the lights, and I'm just talking shit all the way to the back door, thinking there's a go, you know. Let me tell you something, son. That door opened and a dude stepped out. I about shit all over myself.
Wow.
It wasn't a ghost. The highway is right here.
Yeah.
And it was an incredibly cold night. And the building's old. I think what had happened, he had got in to try to get some warmth. Well, as I'm walking this way, and I'm just like, oh.
Oh, it was like a homeless guy?
Yes.
Oh.
So as he comes running, in that moment, I think he's attacking me. Looking back, he was trying to get out the door.
Yeah.
He didn't make the door because the first thing that hit the floor was the top of his head. I mean, I went straight through him, son. So as I turn around, getting ready to lay the boots, I hear a noise behind me. And another guy come out, but he goes out the side door. This dude jumps up. He runs out a door. So when I'm talking about the haunted ass church, yeah, there's some crazy stuff down there, you know.
Yeah.
But there's always in the back of my head, there was a real threat in there at one time.
Yeah.
So last week I go through, I turn off all the lights, you know, and I'm kind of, you know, I got my YouTubes going and I'm catching up on stuff. I know for a fact I turn off all the lights because I have a certain sequence I do it in. Go outside, throw the trash in the dumpster, hop in the car, crank the car, look back, and every damn light in the place is on.
Oh, man.
That's the God's honest truth. That happened last week. But that happens about twice a month.
Wow. Yeah.
And so I'm like, just, you know what? Now I've done that before, and there was a silhouette of something in the door.
So now when the lights go on, does it happen at the same time twice a month?
No, it's not a timer.
Okay.
There's
so
no
it's not
timer
residual then. It's an intelligent thing.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. Yeah. I remember the last time we spoke, you mentioned about how it will ask how your day is in a certain
that's
room.
residual.
Right. So that's what I was thinking is it's residual. And I was wondering if it is twice a month, the same time twice a month, that could have been a residual thing where the lights get popped on. Right. But if it's different times, then that means something is saying, fuck you, I want the lights on.
Right. Well, the thing is, when the medium had come through, she detected 4 distinct spirits.
Yeah.
3 of which I was aware of. Well, or somebody had mentioned, see, it's not just me, it's not just Megatron, it's a ton of people. You know, it's a ton of people who've but when there's more than 3 or 4 people, it's totally normal. Totally normal. But the one thing I was going to say, Donnie, in the nursery, when the medium come through, she picked out an older woman and a younger guy who tries to be tough, tall, slender. He's been seen several times. Yeah. Tall, slender, very gaunt in the nursery. And I showed Joe, I sent Joe a video of chairs rocking. It happens.
Freaky shit.
So then in the church office with the, well, hello there. That's just in the office. I think that might even be some kind of residual. But then upstairs, there's supposed to be a malevolent spirit.
Yeah.
That will mess with you. So I think there's just a bunch of stuff going on in that. Not to mention the natural cracks and creaks, like you said. You know, the natural stuff that happens that'll freak you out at night.
Places settle at night. The worst part about nighttime is if you are in a place where there's a road or something, like out in the middle of the woods, it's one thing, but even in the woods, you can get it. A lot of people say, "Oh, shadows this and shadow," but a lot of times, if a car has a light on it and is 500 yards away. Yeah. And that car moves, that light is going to cast a shadow. Even if it takes a second to get there, it'll be a delayed reaction. That shadow is going to move in even the slightest way. So you always have to think about you said that the church is near a highway,
Yeah.
right? So there's always lights. Or the moon. I know the moon can shine so bright here that I can walk outside in the backyard, no lights anywhere, and I can see everything just from
Yeah.
moonlight. But with trees, if a tree blows and that moonlight is cutting, it's going to make things move inside. So I tell people all the time, I say, whenever you see shadows, but if you're seeing, the same thing in a doorway,
Well,
then some
here,
of them
here,
are just unexplainable.
here's the deal, brother. The windows are blacked out except for the east side of the building.
Now, are they blacked out with an opaque paint, or is
They're
it blacked out?
blacked out.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because then as long as light, you can see. Sometimes blacked out windows, you can shine a flashlight in and see there's a
Right.
light on the
No,
outside.
and they're up high.
Yeah,
Now, the east, now that's the auditorium. The auditorium, when it goes dark,
yeah.
it's pitch dark.
I would
The
love to
east,
sleep in this place.
yeah, I have a time or
Yeah.
two. Camping. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Some of it I really, really like.
Yeah,
There is a room there that I haven't mentioned, and the medium called it, and it's some kind of. I was there one night. It was late, and so I had wrapped up, and I had a young lady helping me. She had got done. Her and her son had left. I said, "Go ahead and leave. I'm going to turn off the lights. I'm going to get." She said, "You sure?" I said, "Yeah, I'm good." So I go down. Like I said, I have a sequence and a way of doing things. I go down to this nursery, and I turn off the light. Turn around, come back. I turn off the hall light. Right. So the only light I have on now, and I'll try to get some pictures in there so you can kind of. It's really, really weird. So as I turn around, I look back, and the nursery lights come on.
yeah.
And then, in my head, I'm like, okay, I forgot or whatever. Hand before the Lord, I shit y'all not, because this room creeps me the hell out. As I go to walk, now the hallway's dark.
Yeah.
There is a window in there. I shut the blinds on purpose. Okay. I just have this weird thing at night because I'm there so late. You could look in and see me. I can't see you. So I'll shut the blinds. Now, that doesn't eliminate all the light, right? So I'm looking, I'm going, that's odd. So as I'm walking down the hallway, I left the light off. The light's on, and I see a shadow come through. My first thought is Billy's come back. She's pulled in the parking lot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, no big deal. Then, now I can't explain it to you. I see like a wispy figure coming out of the room.
Yeah.
Female figure. So I stop in my tracks, right? And in my head, I think in my head, I thought, who are you? You know what she answered? And it wasn't, she said, or I heard, my name's Lilith. I said, Lilith, I'm gone, honey. So I leave. This is God's honest truth. Left the light on, right? Left the light on, I haul ass. The next month, I got Joseph. Eric Smith had brought Joseph, his son, up there. They're parked in front of that room. Lights are off, right? It's 3 a.m. Me and Eric are talking. Joseph's in the car. All of a sudden, I look over and Joseph's standing right beside me. He said, Uncle Scab. I said, yeah. He said, somebody's tapping on that window. And Eric's like, Joseph, there ain't nobody. Because Eric had been gone away for a while and he didn't really. I said, Eric, somebody's probably tapping on the window, buddy. He goes, well, we need to go in and see who. Because he's like. So Eric said, Joseph, go down there. So we all walk down there together. Well, the blind shuts, right? Eric goes, Scab, somebody's in there. I said, and jokingly, I said, yeah, it's Lilith. We're not going in there. Oof. So he's like, he just keeps on. I said, okay. So we go, I unset the alarm. I flip the lights on. He goes, Bubba, he made it about halfway down that hall. And when he come by me, son, he was hauling ass. He never seen anything. He said, dude, I got halfway and he said, I had the most bizarre feeling. Now, some of that can be hysteria. I get it. But listen, when the medium come, I'll make it quick. When the medium come, she went straight to that room. She said, there's a female entity in here that has some kind of attraction to you. And she said, I'm not sure it's a good thing.
I'm
Well, I'll
coming
tell you
down
what,
to Florida in the summer.
Scab,
This is one time. I have to visit that church.
Come on.
yeah, oh, me too.
Yeah, I'm
So,
gonna visit it.
so Scab, you always talk about I wear glasses because you hate when one eye goes. Well, after listening to some of this stuff, I kind of understand a little bit more now. You keep one eye straight and the other eye's going.
Yeah.
It's that bitch.
Yeah. One eye's always on the swivel.
Yeah,
But that was
one eye's keeping out for Lilith.
that one, and I understand some about Lilith, and I understand here, and I can back that story up. The music minister there one night called me. His name's Will. Will said, and in the back, I hear this screaming, just this, I mean, high pitched. He goes, Bubba. We said, where are you at? I said, I'm at home. This was a Wednesday night that had church. You know what I'm saying? They had church. He's closing up. Will's a big man, but he's a good man. So he's closing up. As he turns around, a car's coming in the parking lot, and there's a young lady who's come up to him. Very attractive young lady. And so Will said, how are you? And he's talking to her. And he said, all of a sudden, he said, dude, in my soul, he said, I can't explain it to you. In my soul, I had to get out of there.
Oh, man.
So he leaves. Donnie, he called me going by he was on the highway going by this church, right? He said the chick was probably 100 yards away. He's on a highway going by the church. And I could clearly, over the phone, hear her screaming for him to come back.
Yeah.
And I don't mean like, oh, what's that? I mean, I'm like, yeah.
If I come with you to that church, though, Scab, make sure it's not a night that you have to stay there for a long period of time, because I may not be able to get through.
If I come there, you better
an
make
entire
sure
night
that we can stay for quality time.
Yeah,
I don't know.
We'll have
man.
the whole night. We'll
It
go in the
depends
whole
what kind
night.
of feeling I get in there. If it's something
tell
that's
you,
really
me
gonna
and
bother
Shelly,
me, I don't know.
Me and Shelly would love to go down and do a ghost hunt. I'll bring all the equipment.
That'd be awesome, man. Listen, if somebody's in there with me, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'll tell y'all this one and I'll leave it alone because I know we've gone way long. So I'll make it quick. The first real experience we had, I was there, Megatron was there, young lady I mentioned named Billy, and two other young ladies. All five of us are upstairs. I had put 2 vacuums in the auditorium. So I said, listen, here's what we're going to do. It was at the end of the night. Let's get done. Let's get out of here. I said, Jen, and I can't remember. I said, girls, y'all go downstairs. Y'all vacuum. We'll tackle this. We'll come downstairs. Right. So we huddle break, get ready to go. So I watched the 2 girls as they're going, and I'm talking about 15, 20 stairs, right? 5, 6, 5, 6, like this. Nothing. So all of a sudden, I hear the vacuums kick on. Now, Megatron can back this up. And I thought, son, them girls are fast. Because, I mean, it was within a minute of breaking the huddle. All of a sudden, I hear, and here they come running. I said, what are y'all doing? She said, y'all hear them vacuums? They're on. I said, yeah. We didn't turn them on. I said, come on now. We got to get done. We didn't turn them on. And I look at Megatron, who would normally be like, look, we got to, and she's got this weird look. And she said, look, there's something in here. She said, that's why I wear headphones all the time. If I don't hear it, I'm fine. This one particular spirit only messes with women a lot. I said, all right, okay, let's go. So I go, and it's like a Scooby-Doo movie, you know, where Fred and everybody's huddled up on him. So we move down. When we get to the blue tile, and I swear to y'all, it's midsummer, you could see your breath. And I had just turned on the ACs. So that it's impossible. And I'm like, so I'm looking at making the vacuums go off. I said, guys, it's probably a short. It's an old building. They said, we're not going in there. I said, so we get halfway across, the vacuums come back on. I said, it's a short.
That
Open
really
the
makes them
door.
want to handle some electricity.
Open
There's
the
a short
door.
here. Let me grab it.
Yeah, open the door. The vacuums go off.
Yeah.
And I said, guys, listen, they're like, we're not doing this. And I said, it's just a short, because one was plugged in one plug, one was plugged in the other. There's a lot of renovations going on, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And Megan said, hey, asshole, if it's a short, why aren't they plugged in? Swear to God, I looked, neither one was plugged in. So then we Scooby-Dooed it back across the blue tile, and it was so hot, like Joe was saying, when you open the door, it would knock you down.
Yeah.
That's my last church story, but that place gives me the willies.
Yes, yeah, I like
It's
that.
fun though, if you got a group.
See, with
Right.
us, the first thing we do is when we hear something or feel something or something happens that just shouldn't be happening, the first thing we do is record and strike up a conversation, because if it's happening, I want to catch it, because you could be
Donnie,
scared
listen
all
to
you
me.
want,
And this is something I've been
but
told.
somebody needs to get it. Was that?
This is something I've been told, okay, from family, because like I said, we've had a long history of this in my family. You just got to be careful you don't take shit with you when you
Oh yeah,
leave.
yeah. You make sure it's safe. I mean,
Because
especially do what the spirit wants to do.
attached to people. You
And,
know
and
that, right?
if a
Like you ever
spirit is so, if a spirit is so attached to a building that it doesn't want you in there, it doesn't want to be out either. It wants to
Right.
stay in there. I mean, the only way you're going to get an attachment, generally you have to let it invite itself, and you have to accept it pretty much. But otherwise, you let them know when you're leaving. If you've got a bunch of activity, you say straight out, look, you're here. Like when SK Pierce house, that woman did not want to leave that house.
Right.
No way, that's her house.
right.
The reason that they didn't want us in there is because they own it and they know it. So you're going to get a lot of that. If a spirit doesn't want you there, that means it wants to be there.
Yeah.
Right? If a spirit is really nice and wants you there, maybe it's thinking, all right, I'm cool with this. Maybe I'll just go home with you, But and some you get the, I don't like use the word demons, because I don't know how much I can believe in, like, oh, it's the demon, or it's just a really messed up spirit. This dude
Right.
was clinically evil in his real life.
Right.
This dude's clinically evil in his afterlife. It's the same dude. You don't change once you die.
Well,
So
I don't think demons and spirits are the same thing.
yeah,
And regardless if you believe in Norse, if you're pagan, if you're Christian, if you're Native
right.
American, there is an evil force
Oh
in
yeah,
this world.
yeah.
I'm not talking about a
there's
human
definitely an evil force. Definitely, and there's a lot of things that are going to lead you to do things that are very bad, either for you or for someone else.
Right.
There's things that will eat at you and take you. And is it a demon, or is it something that was so malicious when it was alive that the maliciousness will just never stop? It will never stop.
No, I believe that. I mean, I believe there is a separation. I believe there is an entity.
Yeah.
No matter your terminology, let's say demon, and then there's human and there's evil humans.
Yeah.
I think the mistake that's been made through history is we want to say, oh, like Flip Wilson, you say, oh, the devil made me do it. No.
Right.
There are some people that are just evil for evil's sake.
Yeah.
Right.
Did you see
Fox
Pete's
Hollow
comment?
Farm close to you?
What's that?
No, I'm saying, did you see Pete's comment? That's pretty
Holy
freaky.
hell, Pete.
I had a long conversation with his nervous system. Yeah. I saw that earlier. He said the rest of them went gradually numb. I bet his wife hated that.
There's just a lot. Have you gone to Fox Hollow Farm, Donnie? Is
Gene
that
Simmons.
in Massachusetts?
He said the only demon I know is Gene Simmons. What do what in Massachusetts?
I said, is Fox Hollow Farm in Massachusetts? Have you been there?
Oh, that's familiar. I don't know it.
Herb Baumeister.
Yeah, that's really familiar. I'm not sure where it is.
Check that when we get off here. Check out Fox Hollow Farm. I think you'd find that one interesting.
Let's see.
I can't remember. It was Herb Baumeister. He's a famous serial killer. but that property.
That's in New York.
Is it? Okay. Well,
Yeah.
up there around Joe.
Fox
That
Hollow
property
Farm.
is notoriously haunted.
Yeah, you know what? There's a joint we have out here in New Hampshire, and it was a woman who was taking young men, and she was bringing them into her home, and she was kind of seducing them, and then she would gradually get them so sick that they would be in wheelchairs and they wouldn't be able to move and this and that, and she'd murder them. She'd poison. She would put cigarette butts in their food. And she would have them so psychologically beat when police would go to question, because family members would say, look, my son's been with this woman and he won't contact us anymore. They'll go to do a wellness check. And the guy is in a wheelchair, sunken in face. But he's saying, no, everything's fine. And they can't do anything about it because he's an adult. But she was murdering these people and burying them on her property. And then she just go out and get a new one. At one point, she takes one of the guys that she's poisoning. She brings him to Walmart. She's pushing him in a wheelchair that he was never in before, but he's so dilapidated that he can't even walk anymore. She brings him to Walmart to buy gas cans. And the reason brings him to buy gas cans is she puts the empty gas cans on his lap and brings him to this place. And so she can fill them up and then later kill them. So he's literally carrying the gas cans that would later burn him to death. And eventually they ended up, I don't know how they got her, but they finally got her, and they ended up finding bodies just buried all over her property. And they think that there's still a bunch more buried somewhere on her property that they haven't found.
Didn't Ghost Adventures do a thing from there?
Yeah, I'm reading around Ghost Adventures at Fox Hollow.
Yeah, that's Fox Hollow. I'm not sure if they did it from this lady's house or not, this lady's farm. But my buddy used to live right around the corner from it. So he's like, oh yeah. So he takes me by. He's like, yeah, that property there. And so I got to see it, but I didn't get to do anything with it.
Nice. Well, Joe, we probably, after we've gone about 2 hours and 10 minutes, we may want to start. I know Donnie's got stuff. We all got stuff.
No, yeah. I gotta go.
I gotta tell you, this was damn interesting. Definitely gave me a lot of hairs up my spine. Just went up with all the stories. I hope everybody enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. I think it was definitely a nice October thing that I think we should do every year. We'll definitely do some ghost stories, and I definitely have to get together with Cap though. We got to talk UFOs. I don't know if you guys are into that stuff, but that's another big thing.
Real quick, there's a reason I have this tattoo, and we're big UFO people too. And
I'm big on UFOs.
When we vacation, I like to get a tattoo that has something to do with where we vacation. So the reason I have that is because in Lancaster, New Hampshire, it was the first ever reported alien abduction, and it was back in the 60s with an interracial couple, and they didn't like to make themselves public back in the 60s because it wasn't good.
Right.
This thing had them so shook that this interracial couple went and made themselves 100% public because of this experience they had with this abduction in New Hampshire. And it was after they spoke out that other people began to speak out. But America's first ever reported alien abduction happened right there in New Hampshire. It was pretty cool.
Wow. All right. So UFO talk to come.
Yeah.
UFO.
All right, boys.
Donnie, thank you.
Everybody else, John,
time.
Pete,
Thanks for the
Aaron,
stories.
Stefan, Gruggs. I see Demeter, everybody.
Angry Jack.
Thanks for Angry Jack's there. Dracloop's there. Everybody, thanks for showing up, man. You guys want to sign it out?
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Donnie.
Love having you, Donnie. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Donnie.
All right, boys. Love y'all.
Love you,
Love
man.
you, brother.
All right, Scab. So that's a wrap. I think it was a good show. I had a lot of fun. Thanks for scaring the shit out of me. Appreciate that.
I hope everybody thank y'all for staying with us. We enjoyed it. Hopefully we'll do it again.
All right. I'll close it off with the intro. And thanks, Scab. And everybody have a great day. And thanks for joining us. Until the next Blade Talk, we'll see you very soon. Thanks, buddy. And welcome. Welcome, everybody. And thanks for all the support. Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.